Hello, I'm NBG, and welcome to the channel. Today's video is exactly what you would expect it to be. It is going to be my week in review for week 6 of Dragonflight. 6 weeks in, yeah, things have gone pretty well. We've made great gold throughout the expansion, and this week was no exception. It was just like the rest of them. We made some pretty good gold, so we're going to talk about that and talk about like what I did this week, what I worked on, what I'm working on going forward, and things of that nature. So go ahead and stay tuned, and we'll get right after it. Today we will start, just like with every other one of the week in review videos, with a look at the TSM graph, mostly because the other stuff is just unbelievably wrong. So let's go ahead and look at that. As you can see, for the last week, I started the week, mostly because I'm just doing these on Wednesdays for whatever reason, but I started at about 14.2 million gold, and as the week went on, I am now starting at this video, I am at 15.4 million gold. So we made a little over a million gold. We made like 1.1 million or so. Not too bad, but if you look at the graph, that's pretty much how I would explain it. We did not make much like Wednesday, Thursday. I didn't really try too much to make gold. I think there was one small crafting session like right here. And then after that, there was a lot of expenditures and other things I was doing. I didn't really try to make gold this week. And I know I've said that for a couple weeks now, but honestly, I am sticking to the niches, to the things that are tried and true for me. And this week is no exception. So as the week went on, the gold fell. Right here at this point, we're going to go ahead and talk about what happened. I ended up spending, I think, going into Saturday and Sunday, I ended up dropping like 500,000, 500,000, something like that, on like 1,200 awakened heirs. I had the idea, the hope that with the world quest going away, there would be a chance that the awakened heir would then go back up in price. I can buy it while it's cheap, potentially sell it back at a higher price and make profit, right? I think I'm not alone in that. I think a lot of people tried things like that. It's a strategy I'd been looking into. I definitely saw there was places in the previous weeks that could have made a huge amount of gold. Numerous items. I've talked about those before. And it was my first attempt at going, okay, this World Quest has been around for a couple weeks, or for like a week. The price is tanked. Let's buy them now that they're tanked and see if they go up. Long story short, coming into Tuesday, Wednesday, they are indeed not up. Let's go ahead and look at them real quick just to see what they're at right now. If you go into Awakened and go to Awakened area, down to 361. So I ended up buying at, I bought at around like 430, 435, something like that is when I bought mine. And my hopes were that it went up to like 600 plus, and then I can sell out, make a couple 100K for doing like almost nothing. That was the idea, and I slowly watched it fall and fall until yesterday, where it bounced a little bit above 400 and just a little bit below. And late last night, right before I went to bed, I was kind of thinking about it, and I was like, man, I just didn't know if they were going to rebound. Part of me wanted to wait a little bit longer and just hold on to the stock for another week or more and see what happens. But I guess I kind of got cold feet a little bit. I got a little bit antsy, and I decided to just sell. I posted everything I had at 405 last night, and I just decided to take the hit and call it good, because I didn't want to just sit there on not having the gold. I find that frustrating. It's why I don't do that kind of stuff very often. So there's a high chance a week from now I look back at this and go, wow, if I just would have held that a little longer, I would have made gold. But who knows? I just didn't want to hold on to it any longer. So I sold at a loss. So I lost like, I lost like 60, 70K or something off of what I had spent, which is not too bad considering that they're now way down in like the 360s. I would have lost even more if I didn't sell yesterday. So I sold those. That was a big risk, quote unquote. That was a risk I took this week in the hopes of making some free gold in a way. Ended up backfiring. I lost a little bit, no big deal. Made the majority of it back, not a big deal, moving on. So that's where that dip came from. And then the rest of the week, honestly, not much of anything done. Just very standard, normal ebbs and flows of gold. Go up a little bit, go down a little bit, you know, between selling a few things and buying a few things. So no real change. And then I went into Tuesday night, you know, so here's the dip of me, you know, buying some crafting materials, which this isn't do a good job of show how much up and down the, you know, my gold really was. But buying crafting materials and then doing my initial crafting, buying more crafting materials, doing my next crafting, so on and so forth. I really only spent, I'm trying to do quick, probably around 3 hours trying to make gold, to be honest. 3 hours on Tuesday. You know, because for me, I get home at 3, I was doing some other stuff. I didn't start making gold until around 4:30, and then I even took a break for dinner and stuff like that. So between like 4:30 and 8:30, with like an hour for dinner in the middle, is essentially the only time I really spent making gold. So yeah, about 3 hours, and in those 3 hours, I made pretty good amount of gold. Do note that not all, like almost 1 million of that came from that time frame. Around 300, well, minus the auction house cut, probably around 380,000 of it came from the heirs I sold overnight. So I didn't make that much. So like last night, my guess is I probably made around a good 500,000-600,000 last night in those just like 3 hours, which really is not too bad this late into the expansion. Averaging out between like 150 and maybe 250k peak K an hour. That's pretty good. That's probably about what I was averaging last night. It was going well, and then people started tanking prices and doing different things, and then as it got later, the sell started slowing, and then I just decided to bag it and go do some other stuff before the night ended. So all in all, not a bad week. Again, another week where not a lot of trying happened. I took one shot in the dark that missed, that I lost a little bit of gold on, and I ended the week doing my normal stuff and still came out, you know, 1 million gold higher than I was last week. Not too shabby. Let's talk about the stuff I made. As you guys are fully aware, because I always talk about how good it is on my server in particular, is I've sold a absolute ton of combatant gear. I have over 1,000 items sold, you know, since the game came out, you know, since the expansion, for about 4.2 million. And if you just look at last 30 days, there's about 2.3 million here. And then let's look just in the last week. Just in the last week, there's about 300,000 there. In that 300,000, I would say on average, half of it's profit, maybe a little bit less. So it still is just making me a decent amount of gold. I think you guys have all heard me talk about that before, but it's still something I'm doing, and I probably will do it every week from here on out until it's not making me gold. Right now, I just update it, you know, do a cancel scan once or twice a day if I'm around. If that, some days I kind of don't even get to it. Haven't got to it yet today, even though I've been around for a little bit. You know, and repost whatever's profitable and move on. So that's still doing absolutely fantastic with me. Other than that, let's look at my zap throttles. They've been flying off the shelves. Let's go just this week. Just this week, I've sold 15 zap throttles at about 167k. And for this one, for me, it's really about 2/3 of that is profit. So I probably profited in at least 100k just off of zap throttles this week, as you know, mostly selling at a little over 11 down to last couple I've sold at like, you know, 10.5, when they don't cost nearly that much to craft. What do they cost? Maybe 4k to craft, probably even less now. What is it, like 2.6k or something? Regardless, they don't cost that much to craft, so the vast majority of that is profit. So zap throttles, again, just kind of like my other stuff, I check on it once or twice a day, and that's about it. And on average, yeah, I sell about 2 a day, no problems there. So a decent amount of gold came from that. And then I can't really show it here, but the Azure Weave and Chrono Weave, that did really, really well. So those are like my main things. So the combatant gear, the zap throttles, the Chrono Weave, the Azure Weave, as well as, I would say, transmutes. I have 2 characters that do transmutes, and they honestly only ever do it like once a week. Like, those are like my easy gold things that just don't require much effort, don't require much putting into it to get to the point of being able to do it. That kind of stuff probably made me somewhere around 400, 400 to 500k this week in profit. Not a whole lot of trying. The rest of my profit, the other, I would say, 700,000, 600,000, something like that I made this week, all of that came in the matter of just a couple hours yesterday. And all of that, for me in particular, was a very small amount of the blue silken lining. And I do mean a very small amount. I sold actually, I heard that they're really bad right now. I want to see. Oh, 4.5. They've actually gone up. That's good. They were lower than that. So I've sold some blue silken lining yesterday. Just a handful of it, not very much. Didn't really add that much profit by itself. The most of it came from the scales. So let's go over and take a look at those real quick. So here I am on the Leatherworker real quick just to take a look. So all that kind of stuff was just scales like these, right? I made an okay amount off of Stonecrest. Let's get an update. Which, by the way, if you want to update doing this, I usually search it, click off of it, and click back on, and then this will update to the correct amount. But these were higher than this, well higher than this. Talking in the 200 to 300 gold range profit per craft for me. So I was doing some Stonecrest hide. I did a very small batch of Mirelesh hide, which doesn't sell nearly as well. I did a small batch of that. I've been even though I've been seeing some okay numbers from Infurious, I've kind of stayed away from it. This doesn't sell as fast as I want it to. I don't know, that one kind of annoys me. I didn't do any Frostbite. The T3 Earthshines for me sold really well yesterday. In particular, they're actually, almost 400 gold cheaper than they were yesterday. I had some pretty good profits on selling the Earthshine scales, specifically the T3s, because the T2s I throw into Fangs. And then Fangs, the amount to craft is so low that plus getting profit from the Earthshines and having a lot of that price come out of it, the Fangs are still pretty good for me. They don't sell quite as fast as they were. You can tell even at this price, and this is why what price something sells at really doesn't matter. It's a matter of how much of the cost, the value, how much gold did you put into making it is the part that matters. So even when they're selling at 2,700, I'm still technically netting about 261 gold per craft that I do of it. Now that's with making sure that I actually sell them, correct? So even at that price, I'm still technically making in gold, but this is an awful lot of competition for this item. Way more than normal, so I feel like other people have gotten into this kind of thing, which is probably going to kill the market in general. But honestly, that's where a lot of my profit came from. I sold a decent handful of Fangs. My profit per craft was higher than this on Tuesday, but that's something I expect, and that's something I've talked about, is for me, and today maybe I will look around and see what is out there, if it's worth my time. But specifically Tuesday, specifically on a day that we get a new spark, as well as maybe into Wednesday, are kind of the days, so those first 2 days of the week, especially on a spark week, are the times that I'm really looking to sell, because the prices tend to are inflated, and then more importantly, more people are buying. So even if there's a lot of competition, you have an easier time getting your stuff sold. And that's where my primary focus has been, is early on in the week, is just going hard and making the gold I can, living with it, not fretting about it if it's not what I want it to be, and then moving on, and then focusing on other aspects of the game. I've been looking for other ways to make gold and other things to do, but I'm not a farmer or gatherer. I probably will be at some point if that just becomes by far the best method. I will potentially jump into that, but right now, I actually would love to know your opinion. I feel like if I'm hardly trying, still making over 1 million gold a week, I think my gold is still pretty good to where I don't need to go do that kind of stuff. I think I'm totally chill where I'm at. I'm making enough gold. So, but maybe everybody's making more gold than I do. I don't know, to be honest. Along with that, I looked at toxified armor patches yesterday, and yesterday they were at like 3k per craft, and I still couldn't be arsed to go run the dungeon and do it. One, because with the way this market is, there's a chance that I get all the materials ready to go and all that kind of stuff, and by the time I get in there, kill the boss, go to craft, because you have to have the stuff with you, right? By the time I do all of that, it would have just, maybe the profits were completely gone. Because there was a couple items that were doing that. Fangs were, people were randomly cutting it by like 2,000 gold. Same thing happened with the silk lining. Same thing happened with a couple other items. And it would fluctuate and then just not be worth selling for like, 30 minutes to an hour, and then I would come back. It did happen with fangs and some of the scales. I was getting ready to do another big batch of stone crust and some more fangs and stuff, and then somebody like tanked both prices a lot, and there was enough there that I just didn't want to deal with it. So I was like, cool, I guess I'll, I went out and did a couple profession things and came back in like 45 minutes, checked on the prices, they were better, so I started crafting again. That kind of stuff's going to happen because people get really frustrated when they can't sell their product, or they're like, oh, I have to go, I have to go to bed or whatever. So then they just dump all their stuff at a lower price, hoping it just gets bought out, and they're either okay with the profits they've already made, or just, want to sell before prices tank, or they think they're going to tank, or whatever the case may be. So a lot of that kind of crap's going on, which is a bit frustrating. And again, that's a lot of that's the whole region-wide thing, is there's just so much going on because so many different people posting, so many different people buying, that it's so hard that any price you potentially see is almost always going to be changed by the time you get back to it. So if it's an item that like is too good to be true, chances are it is too good to be true. Somebody's going to see it at that price and come back and post it low for no reason whatsoever. A good example of that is my buddy talking about zap throttles. He was like, oh man, zap throttles are back up to 45k on my server, which I know is quite high. Not on mine, on his. But he's like, oh wow, these are selling at 45k. Let me go get a couple of them. By the time he took 5 minutes to do that and post them, somebody randomly is posting them then at 8. Somebody dropped the price from 45k to 8. But the dumb thing is he's sold them on that server anywhere from like, 10 to like 75k gold. Because that's what they go for. The thing is, if somebody wants that item, they have to buy it anyway. So why are you lowering the price just because you think this is the more appropriate price? Because you think they won't sell? Like, I don't know. Anyway, long story short, I made a decent amount of scales. I made some fangs again, made a little bit of blue silken lining, and that was about it yesterday. Overall profits, we were up about, 1.2 million this week? Pretty good. And there you have it. A mount in my face. Back up, I guess. Alright. So, there you have it. My week in review. It was okay. A little over 1 million gold. I would qualify that as a good week. Especially for... didn't try excessively hard to make that gold. It was pretty good. I just want to reach out and say, hey, help me out, come up with some content. What kind of stuff would you guys like to see? I'm personally having a little bit of a struggle thinking about like what people need to see, whether it's about crafting currently, professions currently, just anything. I'm struggling to find things that are useful, not just to make a video to make a video. Like, that's not my goal. I want to make things that you guys want to see or that you guys need help with. So if there's anything out there that you're like, wow, I really want to know more about this, hit me up, let me know, and if it's something I think I am knowledgeable about, I will try and help out. Other than that, going forward, I'm just kind of sticking with the same routine, making my gold, focusing a lot on Mythic Plus. It's been super, super fun, even though the vault completely screwed me this week. But beyond that, everything has been absolutely fantastic, and I'm still having a heck of a lot of fun in Dragonflight. It's been an amazing expansion for me so far, and hopefully it has for you too. And I would like to just go ahead and thank our supporters. Thank you anybody out there, whether it's likes, comments, subscribes, Patreon, this, that, doesn't matter what it is. Thank you all. Everything counts. Everything matters. I am so incredibly happy that we're, over 1,050 subs going up. Everything's been fantastic. People are so nice in the community, and I love the conversation that we've been able to have in all my videos. It's fantastic. So just want to say thank you. You guys are awesome. So with that, I don't know the next video to come out, but if I find anything that's worth sharing, I'll share it with you. If not, worst case scenario, you can find me Saturday morning at 7 a.m. Pacific Coast Standard Time for a stream for a few hours where we can talk anything WoW, maybe do something together, maybe just do some gold making, whatever it is, so you can catch me then. And with that, I will just go ahead and see you guys in the next video.